welcome to the Common Briefing Program. This is part of the Common Geeking Program where each month we review the last 28 days of geek news, sift through it, and try to find what we think are the most interesting, impactful, or important headlines. Of all the crap that happened in this past month, what do you think, what do we think is the most important for you to retain? I am Colin, and I tend to host these geeky affairs. Who's talking with me this month?
I am Jeff, and that's like our general rule is we only do the last 28 days, even if we're in a month other than February.
Yeah,
so
that has left us with some embarrassing omissions.
If anything happens on the 29th or the 30th, or even the 31st of the month, then just as a rule, we don't talk about it ever. So
I have scribbled out any post 28th day in every calendar I own, and I just go into a sort of hibernation until the next month begins because I refuse to recognize those days' existences.
Yeah, we do. Well, I mean, we got to get our podcast energy somewhere. But yeah, I'm Jeff, and I'm here.
Hi, I'm Timel, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get a new computer, or my computer. I bought a new computer recently, and I'm now just waiting. I'm just now waiting for it to come in.
Fuck yeah, dude! That's such an exciting feeling. I'm hyped for it.
I'm in a new apartment from last time. We recently moved, so acoustically,
that's actually pretty baller.
Might figure stuff out. Yeah. Oh my god, our last apartment was a studio, so we had one single room. So it's nice to actually have a bit of room to stretch my legs.
Man.
And we have a cat.
Now I feel like you got a house and a cat, and Tyler's got a new computer.
Well, it's not a house. Let me make that clear.
Okay, fair. I can't think of one interesting new thing from February. I beat COVID. That's a big one.
That's a good one.
And now I'm sick again with something else. So I'm gonna say you guys win this month. Oh man, wow! I was gonna do a vibe check, but these vibes are high.
Yeah, good vibes for right now.
Yeah.
That's nice. I love that. I haven't I updated my workstation a year ago. Was it a year ago at this point? Year and a half? It was a year ago almost. And I'm looking at some incremental upgrades to it, but man, that feeling of a new computer is just something special. I also moved last year, and the feeling of a new place with more room is also something so fucking special.
Yeah.
So I know your vibes. I love them. I'm here for them. Very happy for you too. That's awesome. Unless you have any more details about him, though, I'm ready to get into what was, for me, a pretty tame month of geek news. A long month, but a tame one. I get the sense that you guys probably have a lot more to talk about than I do, so
I've got a few things.
I will get my shit out of the way. So let's dive in. January of 2022 was pretty bananas. No, January was pretty bananas.
Sorry.
All right, take two. January of 2022 was pretty bananas because we had all those crazy big games acquisitions, with the last of which was Sony buying Bungie, the developer of Destiny, formerly the developer of Halo. And that one came out of left field for a lot of people. And the asking price was $3.6 billion. When you look at the fact that Sony was not getting exclusive publishing rights, Sony was not getting exclusive content, like they're just basically bankrolling Bungie's multi-platform ambitions for Destiny and other video games, you're kind of like, what is up with the $3.6 billion price tag? And somebody broke down, this is a report from Forbes, so $2.4 billion of that deal was to buy Bungie's private shares. So that's how much they actually spent on the company. The remaining $1.2 billion of the deal is going to be paid directly to employees, to employee shareholders. So for a company of, I think it's around 900 people and growing, so Bungie's pretty big. They've really expanded over the last few years. They got $1.2 billion in retention for less than 1,000 people. That's so much money for 900 people. That is an incredible investment in the employees of this company. One, incredible negotiations on Bungie's behalf for their employees to make that happen. But two, it also speaks to how Sony values the talent at Bungie. We talked last month about how Bungie's experience and success in developing live service games is really what Sony has their eye on. And they are willing to pay an extra $1.2 billion, an extra 50% on the deal to get that talent.
Yeah, that's wild.
There's not a whole lot more to this story. that is unheard of, especially given how much we talk about games labor,
the game
layoffs.
Industry fucking over the labor, yeah.
How terribly employees are often treated by companies. This is such a pro-employee move. It is eye-boggling. Like, I'm reading it again now, and I'm like struck all over again. Like, and we had that story a little while ago where it's like, hey, some people at Bungie were treated like shit, but people say it's getting better. What better way to say we care about our employees than not just saying like, hey, here's a fucking hoodie and an arbitration agreement, saying we're gonna put $1.2 billion directly to you. It's insane. I mean, you cannot equate money to morality, but in this case, it is still very reassuring to see that is how they're investing in the company.
That's all I got to say. Arbitration agreement. That is.
I think.
That is my business. Like, if I ever start a business, that's what I'm doing.
This is going to be one shady-ass organization. So beyond that, I have a couple small things that I want to hit on. Firstly, we got some trailers, thanks to Super Bowl Sunday. We got trailers for the Halo series. It's looking a bit more interesting. They have, the Halo series has already also been renewed for a second season. Whenever a show gets renewed for season 2 before season 1 airs, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't really give me confidence. It gives me a sense of, oh, they really have a sense of, like, there's a sunk cost fallacy happening with some executives right now. Like, they bought big on the show, and they feel like they really got to go in. So, I don't know. I still have my reservations about some of the choices the show is making. Narratively, they are straight up, like, we've known for a little bit that the story of the Halo TV show is not going to follow the games. It's going to be in its own sort of alternate universe canon called the Silver Timeline. It's just straight up different. The first Halo game is you're escaping a battle, you crash on a big thing called a Halo ring, a big ring world. You're like, what the fuck is this? You discover it's a weapon, and you gotta get the fuck out of there and blow it up. The premise of the show seems to be, we think there's a thing called a Halo. We need to find it and get it before the other guys.
Interesting.
And also, Cortana exists as a tool of manipulation and isn't blue. I feel like Cortana's one of those.
I feel like her being blue is like the most distinctive part about her.
You know, sometimes like when they're doing like a series like that, I understand why they change plot stuff around just for like what's feasible. But when you're going full out on like doing all of the visuals of Halo, why not also tell the story that the thing is?
The visuals don't exactly line up. Like, the armor that they're using is not the armor that. No, I mean, like, explicitly, like, even just the visuals are a canon violation already. So, like, from the first look, it was pretty clear that, like, this was not a straight rip of the games. I'm fine with the alternate story. Honestly, I'm intrigued by this. It seems like there's going to be a bad guy that's a human that sympathizes with the enemy, which is a take we never really got in the Halo series. So I honestly think that they've got some interesting stories to tell.
Yeah, I mean, the Halo series has always just been Starship Troopers, the book, not the movie.
It's always been pretty stripped down, and its ambitions to really push its storytelling further often get kind of confusing. So I don't know. I'm interested in the show. My reservations are like purely on a creative level. I'm fine with them changing the story. I don't really care about that. Cortana being blue would be nice because then it would look like Cortana. I guess the thing is, the voice actress Jen Taylor that's played Cortana since the beginning, I'm pretty sure that like they filmed her live action and they're just compositing her in as Cortana the AI. So they're not doing like a CG blue character. They are shooting the original actress as this character, is my understanding. So I guess that probably informed their decisions, but...
I mean, aside from not making her blue, that seems like a good way to do it.
It seems like a great way to do it. So, like, I don't know if they're going to turn her blue or something, because the AIs technically get to choose their own appearance and their own names. So, I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, Star Wars has like blue ghost people. Why can't Halo have like a?
Yeah, Halo is unabashedly.
Get into the whole like 5-hour argument about whether or not Yoda should be blue in The Last Jedi.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm still not over how we had a 5-hour argument over that.
Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie. So my next story is that Sonic the Hedgehog got an announcement. They literally announced. They literally announced. at the same time,
Sonic's actually not going to be blue in this one, and it's a point of contention for the fans.
It is. The last Hedgehog is proving to be very divisive. So Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2 is coming out. The film is coming out in April. They have announced that they are going to produce a film called Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and a TV show about Knuckles. So they announced.
Fuck right off.
They announced Sonic 3 and Knuckles again. Am I the only one that really loves that? Because I really love that. Like, somebody at Sega thought about that, and they were like, hey, guys, it's Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
It's a really fucking funny headline, but I don't know how, like, if that joke is worth having an entire TV show devoted to Knuckles the Echidna.
I don't think that's why, but I think the announcement timing, somebody thought about it.
Sure.
I don't know. I want to believe that somebody up at the high ups in Sega was like, you want to spend millions of dollars on a TV series just to make a Sonic and Knuckles joke. And the creative guy is like, yeah, I gotta do it for the meme, man.
Pretty much. What I really like, though, is that from this, Idris Elba's 2 leading TV shows are the gritty British crime drama Luther and Knuckles the Echidna. Quite the range on that fella.
Is Idris Elba not in? No, I guess he's not.
I mean, like, he's a lead role in those shows. He's been in other shows. Like, he was in The Wire. That's what made it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask about. Then I didn't want to sound stupid.
Yeah. No, he's big in The Wire. What other things happened this month? There was also a trailer for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which is the Amazon show adapting events from the Second Age of the Tolkien Legendarium. A lot of people got butthurt that the lead is a female named Galadriel, which is a very prominent character in the Tolkien fiction. And what I have to say about that is, who cares? They're already going to change the story to some degree, and Galadriel's a pretty kick-ass character. My complaints are that if you guys didn't like how The Hobbit looked like a very, like, glistened-up Snapchat-filtered version of The Lord of the Rings, this looks like a glistened-up Snapchat-filtered version of The Hobbit. Very, very sort of flat, aesthetics on kind of, and like everyone looks like they have a glow filter on them. Like, skin looks incredibly smooth, things look incredibly clean. I honestly don't know enough about VFX production or production design to say what is causing this, but a lot of people seem to agree that the aesthetics of this trailer are not very promising. I mean, technically they're of an incredibly high level. A lot of hard work went into this by every look of it.
That intro sequence, though, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, the primarily practical effect of them, like, spilling out metal into sand and catching it in, like, slow motion. It looks beautiful, and the show looks like it has a pretty big scope, but I'd say watch it for yourself. I love Tolkien. I love the books. I love all 6 movies to varying degrees. And I don't know. I'm curious. Kind of like the change to the Halo timeline. I'm like, yeah, do what you want. Make a TV show. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I'll check it out. That's fine.
I've asked this before, and I think you maybe didn't know before, and maybe you don't now. But is this actually, like, set in the same canon as the movies, or is it its own canon?
I don't think so.
Or
I think that this is a bit of marketing ambiguity that they're sort of playing off of. Nothing that they've done seems to establish it in the canon of the films. I think that is smart because the films violate the canon in their own way several times.
Yeah.
Not in any ways reaching this far back. These events take place about 3,000 years before The Lord of the Rings, give or take a little bit. So, like, this is before Gandalf. This is before Isildur. This is before all those things. So I don't think the Lord of the Rings movies could break this story, but I think it is smart for them to, like, play into the, before the ring, before the king, before the blah, blah, blah. Like, to draw on the affection and the knowledge and the nostalgia of the audience, to bring them in.
Yeah.
But then not tie themselves down.
Yeah, also the show is being made by Amazon, and the Peter Jackson Lord of the Ring movies are owned by Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, yeah?
New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers, yes, now it is what it is. So I'm not aware of any connections. You will see some similarities because the show did hire like some of the same concept artists, so you will see similar visual styles to the same people that have, like, done illustrations for the books and designed everything for the movies.
The reason I ask, and I guess the thing that I'm usually skeptical about when they're, like, making prequels that, are based off of unwritten material for, like, a pre-existing thing, is is that like I feel like a lot of those properties tend to like not be reserved enough in terms of like how much they bring in the original media, which then makes a lot of the original media not make sense, because then like when characters discover things in the original media, it's like, oh, but this prequel fiction says that you knew about that a long time ago, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
where it's just like,
trust me that this is far enough removed. The Second Age of Middle Earth is far enough removed chronologically and geographically from everything you've been exposed to for Lord of the Rings, and that most, you know, movie consumers have been exposed to. Even most of the readers have been exposed to. So they're pulling from the appendices. They're probably also going to sneak stuff in from other books that they technically don't have the rights to. The movies did the same thing. You know, it's going to be what it is. And I mean, I know what the story is, so I'm interested to see how they'll build it out into a TV show. Last thing I want to talk about, there were obviously some other trailers and things like that, but the thing that has been eating up the most of my time, Destiny 2.
Certainly not the thing I was hoping you were going to talk about.
Destiny 2, The Witch Queen launch. This is the most recent expansion for this live service game made by Bungie. So Sony is already going to be reaping the benefits of this, because let me tell you this. Destiny, when it first came out, not great. Beautiful, fun to play, boring. Nothing to do. First expansion came out, bleh. Second expansion came out, meh. Then a year later, they did something called The Taken King, and it revitalized the game. And Destiny 2 had a similar road, a lot of kind of bleh stuff at first, and it just got better and better and better and better. I think Destiny 2 is an incredible place now, because with the Witch Queen, this is the best launch experience I've had in Destiny. Usually, when you're trying to get onto a live service game, especially one where 1 million people pre-ordered an expansion, you expect there to be some difficulty logging on. And with Destiny, usually I'm waiting 4 hours before I can get into the game. I got into the game a half hour early and experienced no technical difficulties at all for the 9 hours I played that day. Just smooth. So on a technical level, incredible. 2, best story they've ever done. Destiny has historically struggled with putting stories into campaigns and adventures and missions, and I would say this is maybe their best effort so far. They have built on the past year of missions and stories and turned it into a big villain that, like, the plot twists surprised me. I didn't expect plot twists, and then I got them. I got characters I cared about. I got story developments I didn't know I wanted. Just a really good shooter campaign, which you don't expect out of an MMO, but it really was a good shooter campaign as a story. And then the missions themselves, fun to play. They added a Halo-style legendary difficulty that really made, like, all the bad guys feel meaty and, like, difficult bad guys to challenge. They have revamped a ton of systems in the game. They've added weapon crafting. They've added new things. There are a couple quibbles here and there, but today is 1 week, the day that we're recording this, it's 1 week since the launch of the Witch Queen. This is the best the game has ever been. I am so blown away at the quality of this thing. I always have my doubts going into an expansion, because I think I said this in our Destiny episode. I was like, it's hard to recommend getting into Destiny. That's not true anymore to me. I think this game kicks ass. I think this is finally the game I've always wanted it to be. And if anybody out there likes to play shooters or likes to play MMOs, this is a great one, and it's a good time to get on board. I'm astounded that it's just universally beloved, aside from like a couple, you know, sandbox balancing and economy things that you get with a game this big. But universally, everybody's like, this is the best the game has been, like better than Taken King. This is not an episode about that, but that is my biggest news for the month. That is what I spent the most time looking forward to and what I've spent the most time doing. Witch Queen kicks ass. Go play it. That's all I got.
Nice. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with the thing that I was hoping that Colin was going to talk about until you said it was the thing that consumed the most of your attention this month, and I knew that could not possibly be this. But worth mentioning that Paramount Plus is putting out a horrific live action and cartoon amalgamation reboot of The Fairly Odd Parents, and it looks absolutely terrible.
I try, especially since I've been podcasting, I try so hard not to just shit on stuff, because no matter what it is, somebody tried really hard. Somebody poured their heart and soul into it. And I think it's constructive to look at what it is that makes something unpleasing or a failure, even. I feel like this show is made with malice.
Yeah.
I can't understand who thought this was a good idea, because it already, like, you've got a live action sitcom and you've got Cosmo and Wanda 2D plastered on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Both parts of it are bad.
Yeah.
The sitcom looks bad and unfunny. It looks like a lower budget version of Drake and Josh. And the compositing of the cartoons, it looks like there was no consideration on the set for how they were going to put the cartoons into the image. Like they cast light on the characters, but they don't react to the light around them. It just seems literally like they pasted it in there.
It's just bonkers because this concept has been like done before, like 10 years ago, and it does not look like it's done any better now. Like I remember, I
didn't even see the Drake Bell one.
Okay, well, sure, Roger but in terms of television, of like television shows, like I remember, I think maybe it was on Cartoon Network, not Nickelodeon, but there was I can't for the life of me remember what the show was called, but it was definitely like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
I know what you're talking about.
Where it's like some kid in high school and he can see cartoon characters around him and no one else can see them. I can't think of what it's called.
Cartoon characters in those were all like flatly colored. They didn't have any shading on them.
True, yeah. But I mean, also the fact that Fairly Odd Parents has done this before too. Like there have been TV movies with like Drake Bell as Timmy Turner grown up.
I mean, on the bright side about this, at least Drake Bell isn't coming back. You know, wouldn't want a pedophile to.
Yeah, really.
Is that what happened? I thought he beat the shit out of a kid. I thought that's what happened.
Is that what happened? I have no idea. I just heard that there was something in regards to him putting a child in a dangerous situation, and I never heard any more than that.
You guys keep talking. I'm going to look this up.
I definitely remember him like having like a court case about like dating a 13-year-old and doing.
I thought the court case was him putting a child in danger in some vague way that they didn't talk about, unless I just didn't hear the updates about it.
From HuffPost, former child star Drake Bell appeared in a court on Monday via Zoom and was sentenced to 2 years probation and 200 hours of community service after a teen accused him of preying on and sexually abusing her. That is just an excerpt. Well, hey, Drake Bell had that happen. Josh Peck is on How I Met Your Father. So which one's worse, really?
Still Drake Bell.
Oh my god. Yes. Also, like, I just fucking. It wasn't good then when they did it, and it's definitely not good now, especially as a show. And I really need to know like what qualities of this are making it so difficult for the voice actor that is playing Cosmo to give a good performance. Because like Wanda sounds more or less the same, and it does sound like it is the same voice actor playing Cosmo, but there's just like no energy in the way he says anything in this trailer.
He does sound a little tired. I will say though, I went back and I did rewatch a lot of Fairly Odd Parents fairly recently, and there are Cosmo is a little less peppy than I remember. Like he's kooky, but he isn't that like Mountain Dew in your veins energy that I remember as a kid.
He got like Flanderized as the show went on. Like in the first few episodes, he's like fairly normal and kind of stupid, and then they just pulled it to a whole level as the seasons went on, where he's just like
early on in Fairly Odd Parents,
similar to Caboose, honestly, in Red vs. Blue.
Yeah. Like early on in Fairly Odd Parents, like Cosmo and Wanda's shtick was that they're two halves of an whole idiot. But like, you know, as the show went on, Cosmo just got stupider, and Wanda just did the boring sitcom shtick of the woman character being
Naggy mom.
Nag,
yeah. Anyway, that's enough time in this podcast to spend on that announcement and the trailer that came with it.
I will say that 3-minute trailer somehow felt longer than the conversation we just had.
Yeah, really. I've got a ton of Transformers news this month, actually, because during the month we had something that Hasbro occasionally does for some of their brands called a Fan First Friday, where they like just devote, they do like a live stream on YouTube and give us some announcements. And what was exciting about this one is instead of just looking at new toys like they usually do, they actually gave us some updates on Transformers media that we've been waiting for a very long time.
Nice.
There is a Transformers VR game that is coming out. I think it's releasing like late March, actually. Just worth mentioning that's happening. I don't really know much else about that, but we got a very short teaser for the next Nickelodeon show, the next Nickelodeon Transformers show, and by short I mean like less than 20 seconds kind of teaser, but we got to see the look of the animation, stuff like that. It looks cool so far, but not really enough information to go off of. We got Netflix's comedy Transformers series called Bots, which is based on a toy line that's been around for a couple years of just like tiny little Transformers that turn into like just everyday objects. The whole premise premise of the show is that like a shopping mall got shot with a bolt of energon, and everything in the mall turned to life, and then like Night at the Museum style, they go and wreak havoc in the middle of the night and then turn back into regular objects during the day.
Sounds like a good episode of Solar Opposites.
Yeah, and we got a little teaser trailer for that, and got to see some images, and we got a release date of March 25th. So that's pretty exciting. That's something that, you know, we've kind of known about even before it was announced for a long time, just based on like what was like trademarked and things like that. But got some actual information about that in the first thing in a long time. And then probably the piece of Transformers media that I will interact with the least, save for maybe the VR game, but also maybe my favorite thing that was announced this month for Transformers is you guys, are you familiar with the Calm app?
Yes.
Where, you know, it like reads
it's like
to
the
you
meditation,
to help you.
bedtime stories, relaxing video renders, things like that.
Yeah, so we got the announcement this month that we are getting a Transformers Calm app that is actually narrated by Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime.
So good. That's so good. That's excellent. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's the thing is going to be titled "The History of the Transformers," and like I can't tell if that's supposed to be something that is just like so boring that you fall asleep, or if it's going to be like an actually in-depth thing that is just relaxing because it's Peter Cullen reading it. But I'm just really excited about this concept existing.
No, that's fun. That's big fun. Every once in a while you get a crossover where you're like, okay, this one seems creative and strange. I'm interested.
Right, exactly. So, you know, if you're a big fan of the voice of Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, or the voice of Optimus Prime, Peter Cullen, rather, or the voice of Eeyore, if you want to listen to Eeyore talking about Transformers, then, you know, tune in on the Com app and listen to that.
Damn.
That's really fun. And then the last thing I want to talk about this month, which is not Transformers related, is I was probably going to say more about this, honestly, before we got an update about it today, is Futurama is coming back to Hulu, which again, as a concept to me is already a little irritating, just because Futurama has had like 4 fucking endings now. And
I feel like hold on. I gotta look this up because my friend said it's
Futurama
only been revived twice, and I feel like that's not. It's been more than twice. I feel like.
I feel like it was 3 times, but at the very least, being revived twice means that it's had 3 endings, and that seems maybe right. But now this is the 4th time, which is, and then like originally it was like a big story where it sounded like John DiMaggio, the voice of, you know, Bender, was not going to return to the series because they didn't offer him enough. And then basically it just came to a thing where it's just like, oh, they're putting out casting calls for Bender, and a bunch of voice actors were going like, hey, fuck right off. No one is going to go voice Bender who's not John DiMaggio. And then the update that we got about this, like literally today as we're recording this, the 1st of March, so I guess technically this is news for next month, but you know, worth mentioning since it's relevant to the story, is they actually did reach a deal with John DiMaggio, and he is coming back. So that's good.
Like, you know, Bender is kind of inseparable from John DiMaggio, and like the fact that they were like, oh, he could just be replaced easily is like,
it's just like
telling of like how people see voice actors.
Yep.
And like, you know, it made me think of other situations, like with Metal Gear Solid, how like, how
they replaced the actor with Kiefer Sutherland, right, for 5.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, David Hayter is iconic as the voice of Solid Snake, and it's always and it's always like, you know, if this were live action, you know, people would like pay out the butt to keep a certain actor in a role, but like in voice acting, it's just like you're expendable.
To bring it back to my previous story, this is something that has been affecting the Transformers franchise for a little while, because they keep hiring, like they've like basically in a lot of Transformers media, they have stopped hiring Peter Cullen to do it, and instead have literally started casting a YouTuber who did impressions of Peter Cullen on YouTube as like the voice of Optimus Prime in a lot of media, and it's just bad. And like, it's one thing because it's like every time they do a new iteration of the character, it doesn't have to be Peter Cullen. That's not the issue. Like, there's been other voice actors who have done good Optimus Primes in the fact.
They're clearly trying to replace Peter Cullen.
Correct.
And it usually is just and just like this negotiation did, it comes down to money.
Yeah, because
it was
basically
John DiMaggio was like, we deserve more money for this. Yeah, I'm not going to do it until we do. I don't know what the final negotiations are, but he seems pretty enthusiastic. So I'm sure we'll see more reporting about that in the next month.
It's important to note that John DiMaggio wasn't just arguing for himself. He was arguing for everybody. Right. He wanted to uplift everybody and give everyone more money because they do.
Which is great. Yeah, because like definitely in the case of Peter Cullen, it's clear that like a lot of the shift in that direction for Transformers has been like not wanting to hire unioned voice actors. So they're hiring people who are like, more inexperienced and flexible and like not joining unions so they can't like advocate for themselves. But anyway, the story's about Bender, not Optimus Prime, but
that was also what happened with I forgot to mention this in my thing, so I'm gonna steal a second here. But
go for it.
No, it's pretty much what happened with Star Trek, because in 2016 they had the 50th anniversary movie Star Trek Beyond, didn't hit box office expectations. I blame a lot of that on a pretty lackluster and marketing campaign, but also just on like I don't think that the movie story, I think the movie story was so spoiler heavy that they like backed themselves into a corner. And instead of looking at like what they did on the marketing side, they said this movie didn't make as much money, so all of you actors who are obligated with an option for a fourth movie, we have to turn your pay down a little bit. And that movie didn't happen because Chris Pine was like, I agreed to a certain amount of money, I'm gonna get that amount of money, and if you're not gonna pay it, I'm walking. And the negotiation stalled. That was in 2016 that happened. This past month they announced that the next Star Trek movie, which is coming out in 2023, will be the Kelvin crew cast. Chris Pine, Zach Quinto, Simon Pegg, Zoe Saldana. That cast is returning for the next movie. I'm looking for a little more reporting on it because I guess the deals were not set in stone when the announcement was made, and that some of the cast members were surprised by the announcement. But I think this is a no. I don't know all this because it's all anecdotal. We don't have a lot of information yet, and I'm like keep my eye open for more stuff to come out on it, or for the actors to speak up, but they're not. And again, if they're in negotiations, I understand why they're not. John DiMaggio is pretty unique in that he like spoke very openly about what was going on, why and how, and I think that's important. And I think that he's very fortunate to be in that position as well because he is so widely beloved. He has played so many beloved characters. I mean, he plays a bit character in Destiny, and I'm just like, hey, it's Jake the dog. He's selling me guns. That's fun. And
I kind of want to imagine like Zoe Saldana like in an interview and someone's like, you're in Star Trek, and she's like, I am.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like. I wish we had that gotcha moment to sort of crystallize the whole thing, but I'd be very curious. I'm curious to see what happens because like the Star Trek movie has been in such flux. We had so many different versions that were going to get made, but in the end it boils down to exactly what just happened with Futurama, which is contract negotiations, budget negotiations, and given that there's some weird messaging on what's going on with the actors here, I'm curious like what's still going on and what we're going to see come out of it. And I think that this, especially as so much of the entertainment industry is unionizing, like we have friends that are dealing with that sort of thing. I was part of some unionization and stuff regarding the animation industry, much less than some other people. And it's just like, this is huge. This is across everybody. But I think that this John DiMaggio thing it's happening at the perfect time because as we're having these conversations about, worker value in the entertainment industry, we have someone here who fucking did it, screamed it, and won. I like that.
When you've got a performance that's like so iconic, it really gives you like a lot of cards in your favor to be able to leverage that. And it's really great that he was like advocating not just for himself, but for, the other cast members as well, because like honestly probably some characters are a little bit more replaceable, but if you're trying to bring in like an impersonator of John DiMaggio, not gonna work.
No, he's an incredibly recognizable and bombastic presence in everything he's in, and I'm very happy.
But yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I had to talk about. We also got a Doctor Strange trailer, which maybe could be a longer discussion at another point, probably when the movie comes out. But otherwise, that's pretty much what I got.
The X-Men are in it. Patrick Stewart's in the trailer. It's the X-Men. They're doing X-Men.
Yeah. We could fucking talk about that for an hour, but for the sake
I feel like Griffin McElroy in the Mabim Bam TV show where it's like, we're going going to the library because we recorded that part already. We're going to the library. That's how I feel right now. Like, it's got X-Men in it. Who cares? Play the fucking movie. It's Patrick Stewart.
Wait, I actually haven't seen that trailer. Are X-Men actually in that trailer?
Patrick Stewart is in the trailer.
Stewart is in the trailer. And it's the way that it is definitely is Professor X, but it could be like it's like, so the way it's set up is it seems to be referencing a group called the Illuminati in the like Marvel comics, which consists of like, you know, multiversal versions of like Tony Stark and Professor X. And like, I know people, I don't think I've only seen speculation on this just as like this would be a cool thing for it to do, no actual evidence, but I've seen people being like, what if they fucking did like Tom Cruise, Tony Stark as a multiversal version of to put this like that'd be interesting. But
the context here is also like Patrick Stewart did not want to revisit, you know, Professor X or Picard, like his two biggest characters, until Logan happened, and that sort of changed his mind, and he was like, Logan's all I'm doing for this. So I imagine that this is probably an alt universe version of the character, because he's been pretty. He still speaks so fondly of Logan as a film that he's like, I don't want to undo any of that. That was so important to me.
I saw some speculation that he might have his, I don't remember if there was actually any evidence of this or just speculation, but I saw some evidence that he might have his big, stupid, like yellow floaty chair from the X-Men cartoon, which would be a really cool nod. And again, another thing to set him aside from like that character, as in like, this is a version of Professor X that is Patrick Stewart, but is not that one, because that one is definitely dead.
So the other context here being that they did a lot of very extensive reshoots pretty last minute. People think that was because that was after they got the rights to the X-Men, and they were like, let's try to get it in there. But the other thing that's smart is because we know they're doing Kang the Conqueror, and the Council of Kangs is an important thing. This seems like a smart way to repeat the magic of what Spider-Man No Way Home did with multiverse crossover for fans, but also set up the concepts that will make understanding Kang the Conqueror for people not familiar with the character and future things. So I can see it being a pretty smart maneuver. I again, just like everything else, I don't know.
Although I can't help but feel like he wouldn't be too hard to explain. Doctor Who, but evil. That's kind of what Kang the Conqueror is.
And they've already explained him a little bit in Loki.
Well, but we saw him in Loki. But I've never watched. I don't think they explained him very much. Loki's great. You'll enjoy Loki.
An alt universe version of him shows up in Loki. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
but
gotcha. The show came out in July. It's whatever.
I'm not like mad about spoilers. I'm just like, I'm in the dark because I haven't watched.
Yeah, no, you should check out Loki. They're setting up for Kang the Conqueror, and I think that if they're going to dole it out over a bunch of movies, then it's going to be hard to get everyone up to speed, because I don't think everybody's following the MCU with the same fervor that we did for the Infinity Saga.
Right.
I just think it's harder to do that now. So
I mean, personally speaking, you know, after the Infinity War stuff, I was like, man, I've had my fill. I'm good.
Same. I felt the same way, and WandaVision didn't do it for me, but I really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, despite some of its clumsiness. But I really like that show, and I really like Loki. So I think I'm excited. I'm excited to see what comes.
But it's also interesting because, like, with this Doctor Strange trailer, it is making it more apparent that, like, some of the shows are going to be required reading material, because it does directly tie into the events of WandaVision, which is something in concept that I'm a little bit skeptical of. But also, like, it sort of feels like they're just playing to the people who are committed to it at this point. So I don't even.
Here's the thing. It's going to be quote unquote required reading. I mean, you know how these movies go. They're always pointing to other things in the other movies, and you're sitting in the theater where half the people are like, "He said the thing," and the other people are like, "Why are people yelling? I'm just trying to watch this movie." Like it's par for the course. It'll be fine. They're going to say 2 sentences about the horrible atrocities Wanda committed and then move on.
Right. Well, I mean, there's like, I don't know. So with this trailer,
for the sake of time, we gotta.
The main thing was just that there was like, I was just gonna say a sentence to button it up, but okay.
Well, now that you've made it confrontational, I will continue that confrontation. All right, Chowder, it is your turn. I saw a lot of Nintendo stuff in the list, so I imagine I'm going to hear all about it right now.
So the first thing I want to talk about is the announcement of the Gen 9 Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, which is surprisingly soon. A lot of people managed to call it simply because like they were looking at like the anime and we're like, they're running out of stuff from Gen 8 and they've already like done stuff with Legends Arceus and the Diamond Pearl remakes, so I think they're gonna end up announcing a Gen 9 soon. And they were right, and it's just weird because like Pokemon Legends Arceus like came out last month or a month ago, I believe. Yeah, and so we've barely had time to digest that, and now they're like, oh yeah, and then Pokemon Gen 9 coming this summer, and it's or sometime in summer 2022, something like that, and it's like,
I thought it was in fall.
Are the devs getting a break? Do you guys have the game devs at gunpoint or something? What are you doing to these people? You're making them make like open world RPGs at like breakneck speed.
This is 5 video games in a single year from one
late
studio?
2022 is what it says.
But I mean,
late 2022.
But a lot.
Yeah, that's not a lot of time. I wonder,
short turnaround
because I know that they
time,
did like, I know that they like split up teams when they did like Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu and also the Gen 8 games. So do you think it's something like that, or is it
Sword
literally
Shield,
like the same team?
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty common organization method for studios. It's still a ton of work.
Like,
how many people work for Game Freak?
Yeah,
there are not a lot of people in Game Freak is the thing. Like, you know, like you look at the credits for Legend Arceus. There was one guy doing all the sound mixing and mastering, and it was like,
oh my god,
are you okay, sir? Do you need help?
Oh my god!
Like for some reason, Game Freak, a studio that makes Pokemon games that consistently sell in the millions, billions maybe, and like they don't fucking cut them any slack. They have like some crazy short deadlines because they have to like keep up with because like, you know, Pokemon's a global brand, so like there's an anime and trading cards and all this other stuff that are reliant on Game Freak. So Game Freak, you gotta respect how they managed to survive all this nonsense.
That's
my god, are you guys okay? Do you need someone to break you out?
Labor rights issues aside, like it also makes you wonder the quality of the end product, what that's going to end up being too, you know?
Like Pokemon Sword and Shield were very disappointing. Like, you know, I feel like people blew it out of proportion, but like, you know, I do feel underwhelmed. So I hope,
which has kind of been, I mean, that's been a lot of my experience with Pokemon games in the past few years, because like it's really starting to get old, just like how the same every game is. And then, like,
I mean, I will tell you that Legends Arceus is actually a breath of fresh air. So, you know, when you get the chance to play that, try it out.
Definitely.
And they also reveal the new starters for that game, which, you know, they're pretty cute looking. There's like this chili pepper.
Of them are underwhelming.
I actually quite like Quaxley. He's like a duck with a hat. That's great.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of Quaxley and fucking I can't even remember what the grass one's name is, but it's definitely it definitely is just Litten except green. And I would fucking die for Fuecoco. That is an amazing design. I love it. The fucking chili pepper crocodile.
There's no denial. Fuecoco, fucking fantastic. It's like a chili pepper, but it's also a crocodile, and it's got a derpy ass face. It's great.
It's adorable.
And that's really all we know about Pokemon for now. Next thing I wanted to talk about was Capcom announcing some fighting game stuff. First, they had a teaser trailer for Street Fighter 6. The only remarkable thing about it is how, like, no one really has anything to say about it, because one, so little of it was revealed. Two, this game has been going through so much, like, development hell. 3, this game is, like, many years overdue, but, like, all we got is, like, a new look at, like, the engine they're using, because, like, they're using the in-house Resident Evil engine to make this game. Looks pretty good. Ryu looks oddly wide. Like, you know how, like, people were making jokes about, what's his name from Star Wars, Kylo Ren, like, how he's got, like, a wide chest a few years ago. People were making jokes like that.
Last Jedi showed him without a shirt, and people were like, this boy.
Wide boy.
Very wide.
Ryu's oddly wide, and they, like, show, like, a character named Luke who, like, like, you know, the way they frame him, and it's like, oh wow, who's this guy? He looks intriguing, except they released him as DLC for Street Fighter 5, so like we already knew who Luke was, so it's like, whatever. So yeah,
maybe that DLC sold very poorly, so they're like, no one's gonna remember this guy. Sneak him back in there.
Like, they hyped the DLC as like look into what Street Fighter 6 is like, and then they release this kind of generic ass dude. Like he punches and like key blasts come out of his punches, and that's really all we know about him. It's like Street Fighter 6's teaser trailer was like super underwhelming, especially like because everyone was going, what is going on with Street Fighter 6 right now? And like, funny enough, like the other announcement they made, Capcom Fighting Collection actually got more buzz than the actual new Street Fighter game. What Capcom Fighting Collection is like 10 of Capcom's fighting games, all in one with like new bells and whistles like rollback netcode. And rollback netcode is great. For those who don't know, in fighting games, you got two kinds of netcode, delay-based netcode, rollback netcode. Delay base is a pain in the ass because what it basically means is the online will like put a deliberate delay, like a 1 second delay. That's probably a lot exaggerating, but like in order for like everything,
it's usually a couple milliseconds, but it feels like lag essentially. Like you do something, but there's a buffer time built in for how long it takes for that to register on both players' devices.
Milliseconds, but like with fighting games, a few milliseconds is all the difference. And it's deliberate lag so that like the game can like figure out what the players are doing on each of their end and like have what on screen makes sense. Rollback netcode, there's a lot to it, but like to put it in simple terms, it is better than delay-based netcode in every single way. Like you will barely notice rollback netcode. That's how good it is.
If I'm not mistaken, instead of creating a buffer so that it can figure out what happens after the fact, it looks at the timestamps of the information that came in and then basically honors what happened a few milliseconds ago instead of waiting a few milliseconds to figure it out. So the reason some people moved away from rollback was because technically it's fairer to use delay, but rollback feels more immediate. You don't have that sense of lag, even if it's not always 100% accurate to what's happening.
Well, here's the thing. Most fighting game people agree. Rollback netcode.
Yes,
it
is a better experience.
It feels better. It's
a good move.
It's ultimately very fair and usually super accurate. The real drawback to rollback netcode is it's difficult to implement unless you figure it out right from the start. With this, it's like, hey, here are a bunch of games. One of them, Red Earth, was never released outside of arcades. Two of them are Darkstalker games, which, people love those games to death, but like Capcom for some reason refuses to do anything with Darkstalkers. Let's see. The other games will include stuff that hasn't been released out of Japan and, some Street Fighter stuff. And Cyberbots, Full Metal Madness. These are like games that have a great following, but like because they're from arcades or they were never released outside of Japan, it is hard to get into them, so having this all in one place with rollback netcode is a great thing. So people are looking forward to this more than they are Street Fighter 6, which is funny. Next thing I want to talk about was Nintendo Direct. They made a few announcements for that. Most of it is fairly unremarkable, but some of the ones that caught my eye. So Square Enix made a couple of announcements. There's the remake of Live Alive, which is like this RPG that never came out outside of Japan. It's being made, it's being translated into English for the first time, and it's got and it's using the same engine as Octopath Traveler, which is like a really good looking game, which has this sort of hybrid between like 3D and pixel art that has a sort of pop-up book diorama kind of effect. It's really good. And like here's the thing, like Square Enix has like made like re-releases of like early Final Fantasy games like Final Fantasy 6 and before, where they like take the pixel art and just make it shit, and it's like, why are you making Final Fantasy shit, but like Live Alive fucking looks great? Where are your priorities, man? But that's Live Alive. The other one is a port of Chrono Cross, a game for an RPG for the PlayStation that is a sequel kinda to one of the best RPGs ever, Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross gets into some multi-dimensional weirdness, but like the important thing to note is
everything does eventually.
To be fair, Chrono Trigger was about time travel. Like, Chrono Cross is very much keeping in tune. One important thing is, like, between Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger, there was this, like, text-based novel/adventure game thing that was never released outside of Japan that, like, you know, kind of ties the two games together. So we finally get a translation of that. And two, you know, the Chrono Cross port has, like, certain bells and whistles, like being able to speed up the gameplay, being able to just make yourself invincible so you can just enjoy the story, that kind of stuff. The actual graphical update is kind of muddy, not that great, and I'm willing to bet money it's because they lost the source code to this fucking game as well. I don't know. Square Enix likes losing source codes. How they lose the source code to Final Fantasy VII, one of the most important games ever? Who the fuck knows?
You'd be surprised. I have a friend of mine who is sort of amateur video games historian, and like the amount of shit that is not recorded, not saved anywhere is kind of astounding. Like, you'd be surprised how hard it is to find anything about the games industry before it all became online. And now it's becoming difficult again with patches and updates cycling out content on the regular. There's no archive functions for anything. So, I mean, it's probably because Square Enix was a lot smaller back then, and they were like, oh yeah, just keep it on a computer. 8 Windows updates later, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know why it happens, but, like, you know, it's always frustrating to know, like, shit gets lost to time, you know? And, like, you know, they're really bad about it. Like, even up until, like, PS3, Xbox 360 era, they were really bad about it, right? Like, you know, they've done ports to, like, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and Kingdom Hearts, where they lost the source code. With Kingdom Hearts, they went through the trouble of, like, actually making the game from almost near scratch. Like, they still had it earlier. Why they don't give that treatment to other games? Well, I know, because Disney. So, but yeah, no, Square Enix, you know, porting over Chrono Cross, it's a great game. Personally, I like to separate it from the fact that it's connected to Chrono Trigger, simply because like Chrono Trigger has like a ending, and Chrono Cross kind of undoes that ending, and it's like like Terminator 3 to Terminator 2, you know, or Aliens 3 to Aliens 2.
Or, you know, like Terminator Dark Fate to the previous 3 Terminator movies. You know, we all know.
Right? Pretty much every Terminator movie to every other Terminator movie.
Exactly. Except the difference here is
I can confidently say, even though I've seen literally none of the Terminator movies. That's all I know about them.
Most of them.
I mean, like, the difference here is that Chrono Cross is a great game in its own right. I just like to keep it separate from Trigger. And, you know, I'm always up to see, like, stuff I haven't experienced before, and Live Alive looks like that. But an interesting one from Nintendo is that they're releasing DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is like, you'd think they'd have been working on a new Mario Kart, but no, they're just making new courses for Mario Kart 8. I guess they just figured, man, everyone's got Mario Kart 8, might as well just keep working on that. Cheaper to do that.
I don't know if Nintendo is ever going to have a coherent online strategy. Really.
No.
But
I think hell will shatter to pieces before Nintendo makes sense.
I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense to make DLC for a game that people love. And I know Mario Kart 8 is not the most beloved in the franchise. It's just the most recent and active one on their current hardware. But like, I feel like the people that are playing Mario Kart all the time are not the people that are going to go out and look up new DLC, and also are not going to pay for that DLC, except the people that are like really into these things. Sure, but the people that are like, I bought it to play games with my friends and or family, are not going to log in, see, pay $5 for a new course. They're going to say, no, I'm going to shove my kid off Rainbow Road and make them cry again. Duh. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like, games, you need so much supporting structure around a game to sell DLC to people that like the game and play the game. Like, you have to convince people, like, Jeff, you play the fuck out of Pokemon. I bet if ever Pokemon really cranks out the DLC, you will be the first one to be like, I don't know if that's really necessary.
Especially after the last Pokemon DLC.
And Mario Kart 8, like I said, is not even the most beloved of the franchise. So I'm
like, keep in mind, Mario Kart 8
very
has been
afterthoughty.
Like Mario Kart 8 has been out for quite a few years now. A long while, So it's like, now you're releasing DLC for it? I mean, sure, whatever.
That's how I felt a few years ago when Nintendo said, yeah, you know the 3DS, that dying hardware that we're not going to support pretty soon? Here's a remake of the worst Metroid game for it. Have fun. And it was great, but like, what the fuck?
In the moment, it was bizarre, but like looking back in hindsight, it was clear they were just getting
prototyping for Metroid Dread.
Prototype for Metroid Dread, exactly.
Yeah. So like maybe this is a sign of things to come, but like, come on, guys, there are better ways to make your money. Come on, Nintendo, you can do it. I believe in you. The Steam Deck is about to eat your lunch. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of bizarre decisions by Nintendo, Sony has just announced important to note, Sony has recently announced, or Sony has bought out one of the biggest fighting game tournaments in the world, EVO. And EVO has announced that on March 8th, they're going to announce what games are going to be in their next tournament. But they also just flat out came out and said, hey, we're not going to have Smash Bros in here. And it's like, I don't know if this is something from, and I don't know if it's something from Sony's end or if it's something from Nintendo's end, but
I could see it being both, honestly.
Yeah, look, the two do not like each other.
No, more than that, they also don't like getting along with other platforms in general.
Yeah.
Like, listen, back in the 90s, if they were allowed to get away with it, they would absolutely have stormed each other's offices with flamethrowers like it was Nom. Like, they hate each other that.
I'd watch that movie. I'd watch that limited HBO Max series.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That would be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, their quote is, since 2007, we've seen historic Super Smash Bros. Moments created at EVO's events. We are saddened that Nintendo has chosen not to continue that legacy with us this year. In the future, we hope to once again celebrate the Super Smash Bros. Community alongside them. And it's like, man, that is a weird that is a weird way to announce your first EVO tournament that you own. Like, hey.
It's smart to get ahead of it, though, because it's like Smash is like probably the biggest fighting game. It has to be the biggest fighting game in the world, not amongst fighting game players, but like the most broad appeal for a fighting game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, like their first announcement is what's not going to be at their first tournament that they're holding.
Never a good sign.
What they are gonna have in there is up in the air right now. I mean, we can make some good guesses. There are some upcoming fighting games like DNF Duel that people are expecting to be in there.
Maybe we'll finally get to see Street Fighter 6.
yeah. I mean, either a glimpse at Street Fighter 6 or just more Street Fighter 5. Either way, at least some kind of Street Fighter up in there. Definitely Tekken. Let's see. Grand Blue Fantasy. But until they announce it, who knows?
Yeah, that's big sad. You got any more stories? I want to wrap it up here in a minute, but if you got a squeaker, you can squeak it in.
Yeah, no, there's not really.
What a weird way to say that.
I'm not doing so hot over here.
Yeah, there's no big ones, I think. So
no squeakers for Chowder.
Yeah. No squeakers from Chowder. All right, then tell you what, we're gonna move it into the rating section here. Kind of a weird, uneven month, a lumpy month, I'll call it. But we're about to come together as a group of journalistically integral people.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. It is Black History Month, and we did not mention the fact that Jordan Peele is making a new movie, and we should say that.
Oh, fuck. The trailer for Nope came out. His follow-up to Get Out and Us. No idea whether it will be canonically related to either of those films. Probably not, because Daniel Kaluuya is in it, and probably not the character from Get Out. Looks great, looks creepy, looks weird, looks like a Jordan Peele movie. I'm very here for it. I love both of his previous films.
I guess if we're gonna add to like Black History Month, there's like a new Proud Family thing going on.
That's right.
Yeah, that's getting rebooted.
Plus,
and that doesn't look like some sort of that doesn't look like some sort of heinous amalgamation like Fairly Odd Parents, Fairly Odder does. Also, the name Fairly Odder is stupid. But Proud Family, I watched the trailer for that. Looks like spot on, dead ass like the original. I don't know if they got the same production house to do it or what, but like.
Well, it's definitely different animation, but it's like a different, like all of the designs look the same, but it's very.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's like it is modern, but it echoes the original in a way that doesn't feel like, what are you guys doing? It feels like, oh, this is an update.
Yeah.
Then moving into the rating section, adding those to our pool of contenders, we are going to try to determine what we think was the most interesting or impactful story for the month. What should you walk away with talking to other people about and tell them, hey, I heard this on a podcast. I should talk to you about it. And they'll say, don't tell me things from a podcast. That's not civilized. But we'll give you the ammunition to do it anyway. We're each going to nominate something, and we'll try to come to a consensus for what we think is the biggest story of the month. I don't know what I want to say, so would one of you like to go first?
Tough one. Okay, so this is kind of a weird nomination because it's more like the context surrounding the story that I think is the important thing. Mm-hmm. My nomination is gonna be for Futurama, but not because of Futurama coming back, but more because of, John DiMaggio standing up and kind of the broader stuff that's happening with unionization and stuff in the animation industry that I think, we didn't talk about that specifically. We kind of mentioned it, but that's kind of the biggest thing for me. I mean, that's okay. What I'm going to kind of nominate. That is John DiMaggio.
Let's continue around the circle, and then I'll give my thoughts. Chatter, would you like to join Jeff, or do you have a nomination of your own?
I got a nomination of my own. It's a toss-up between the new Pokemon gen, because every time Pokemon gen comes out, it's something that is super piquing my interest, and I hope Game Freak is doing okay, and I hope the game actually turns out to be not a disappointment like Sword and Shield. I want both to be true at the same time.
It does not feel likely.
And the other one is Street Fighter 6, and I know I said people were underwhelmed by it, but aggressively underwhelmed because here's the thing about Street Fighter. It's always been the face of fighting games, so people always look to that as the sort of leader, but man, Capcom's been dropping the ball with Street Fighter, and lately other fighting games have come in to pick up the pace, Guilty Gear and King of Fighters 15 have really exploded in popularity, and it's not a stretch to say that probably because Capcom dropped the ball with 5 and dropped the ball with the upcoming 6 really helped them in that regard. So there's 2 more games that might be announced for Evo, Guilty Gear Strive and King of Fighters 15, but yes.
It's always disappointing to see that, kind of you and I, Chowder, were thinking for Metroid Dread, there have been so many amazing Metroidvanias since the last main Metroid game. Can this even keep up? And luckily it could, but it is too often that we see this where it's you're not the daddy anymore. You got outclassed. So I hope that's not what happens. But
this isn't your dad's fighting game.
I am going to join Jeff with his nomination. I don't know if that was a suspenseful pause. I don't think so.
I was really thinking you were going to jump on the Pokemon train myself.
Yeah, you know me, Colin Ketchin. Love those Pokemon games. That Pokemon. No, I think that, Jeff, I think you're exactly right. I think that the news of Futurama getting the reboot announcement and getting the John DiMaggio drama and resolution in the same window is exciting and interesting in and of itself, but the context of it is incredibly important because of all this. We talk about labor issues in the industry pretty much every episode, and it's not that often that you get kind of a win. It's more of a symbolic win than anything. I think it's important because of the high-profile nature and visibility.
Yeah, it's bringing the conversation to the mainstream.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is going to be the thing that pushes the conversation for a lot of people. I don't know that this is going to have direct impacts on a lot of unionization stuff because, we're talking about unionized actors and voice performers. Yeah. And a lot of the struggles that we're seeing are not necessarily in that space so much as they are in other spaces.
Yeah.
Even though they are technically different categorizations of workers in this industry, I am very happy that when a problem happened, it wasn't just kind of like with Star Trek, where I'm just sitting on my thumbs are the actors I enjoy getting fucked over here? What's happening behind the scenes? I don't know.
Behind the scenes,
I have no idea, and it might be totally fine. I really don't know. But it was nice to see John DiMaggio come out and say this is what's happening, this is why, that's it. And so often that is the solution with so many of these things, and there is always a lot of pressure to stop people from having that conversation. But it has been had, and I hope it continues to be had, and that this at least further normalizes those kinds of conversations among the supporters of these things and the consumers of these things, because it's usually not what we're thinking about. But you threaten to take away someone's bender, I feel like they're going to pay attention.
And it's just it's so silly to me too, because this important story, and then I get down to like the the beginning of the conversation, and it's just like, why are we fucking rebooting Futurama to begin with? Like, it's not something I actually want to consume because just let it die for fucking once. Jesus Christ! But
I did look it up. This is only the second time it's been rebooted. I thought it was way more than that.
Horse shit. This is
ended in 2002, came back in 2008, ended in 2013, and now it's coming back again. I think there were some movies in there, there were movies and there were syndication deals, but this is only the third time that it's aired.
Sure, I was interpreting second time of rebooting as the second time it aired, and I'm like, that's definitely not true.
No, this is the second reboot.
Yeah.
So this is the third series run of it, and Hulu's been making a name for themselves in sort of like the reboot space here. Your Animaniacs, your How I Met Your Papa.
But it's
all
had
that sort of
three
stuff.
endings, hasn't it?
I mean, I don't watch Futurama, really. I've seen some of it, but I'm not like a follower of it. I like it, but I don't know much about its story. I know that there were multiple movies, and I don't know how those like concluded anything or if it did. But also, it's a goofy sci-fi show.
Four different series finales, some of which were better than others. That's
got to take a toll on a writer. Oh my god, wowzer!
Sorry.
All right, well, hey, that's where we're leaving it. The Futurama drama is our top story for February. I'm hoping for a little bit of a spicier March. I am getting new Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff announced this month, but I want some more new stuff releasing.
Yeah.
I mean, once I get my new computer, I'm like getting myself some Elden Rings and getting my Elden Rings on.
Steam. We're also going to start hearing more about the Steam Deck. Initial reviews are pretty damn positive about the device. They're starting to ship out to consumers now. I believe I'll have the opportunity to order mine in April.
An interesting news that didn't really make it into the thing itself, but just there's like a port of both Portal and Portal 2 coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I just thought to myself,
that's cool.
It's the Steam Deck coming out, and it's
there's going to be a little Portal spin-off as well for like a little desk, like a management style game that's coming out at the same time as the Steam Deck.
Half-Life 3?
Confirmed. Jeff, I don't know if you've played Portal. I would say don't. If you get motion sickness, Portal's about the worst first-person game you could possibly play. Because imagine a first-person game where you forget what gravity is. You will ruin your Nintendo Switch.
I played a little like fucking rip-off like 2D version of Portal one time on like a Flash version. I had a really good time, but otherwise I'm like, I'll stick with just listening to the songs.
Smoke some weed, pound some Dramamine, you'll have a great time. Absent that, don't do it. You'll die. That's going to about wrap it up for this month. We'll be back in a couple weeks with a regular-ass book club episode. I believe y'all will be discussing season 1 of The Legend of Vox Machina, the adaptation of Critical Role, now on Amazon. You will be joined by our good friend Jocelyn, who did some work on the show.
Yes, good. Committer to it in recording.
Did some work on it, so maybe some insider information. I'm not going to commit her to anything. I'm also not going to be part of the conversation because I have not watched it, so I'm excited to see what you guys say. And then at the beginning of April, we'll be back with a recap of this month's news. So you'll hear me talking about Star Trek Picard, Halo the series, so you know already if you want to listen to that episode or not, and I'm sorry. But I have been Colin Ketchin, and I'll see you in a month. How about you guys?
I have been Jeff Levitt. If you want to find me, I've got a YouTube channel where I do toy reviews. If you're at all interested in that, that's Alchemist Prime Reviews on YouTube. And that's me.
I've been Timul Chaudhary or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter at Timul Chowder. You can also find me on our sister podcast, Dice Populi, where I hope the current arc I'm DMing is going to wrap up soon.
We'll find out. We'll know about it.
Half of the entire podcast has been Chowder's arc. No,
no, I think we'll know pretty soon whether or not that's wrapping up. But honestly, every episode lately has been really fun to edit. Except for the ones where Matt deleted all of his audio.
Is that what happened?
Those were less fun to edit. If you're part of the Patreon for Dice Populi, you can see all about what happened and some commentary stuff. Otherwise, have fun figuring out from the edit, baby. That's it. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Sure.
The Common Briefing program is hosted by myself, Colin Ketchen, and I've been joined by Jeff Levitt and Taimul Chowdhury. This episode is sponsored by Elden Ring, Austin's favorite game, and the one that I got a refund for in 90 minutes. We will be back in a couple of weeks with another book club episode about The Legend of Vox Machina, and back in a month with info all about the news in March, and it's shaping up to be a fun one. If you're looking for more stuff along these lines, check out our sister podcasts, Dice Populi and How You Doing, but otherwise, just keep tuning into this. Tell your friends, enjoy, and thank you for listening to this. All right, let's just go at 10 minutes, 10 seconds. So 10 seconds from now.
Okay.
Oh.
No, you're good with that.
Okay.
I just want to
5 seconds.
adjust my setup here. So, right.
Wow, that was
Yeah,
That
I
was a
didn't
long
hear
way
any
off.
other. I didn't hear any claps. I'm going to refresh my thing and try
I-
again.
we don't.
I heard a clap, but it
clapped.
was like a full 2 seconds after me. So
Oof.
If it was
okay.
after you, then that's fine. As long as it wasn't before you, that's when we have a problem.
Well, if it's full 2 seconds, that's maybe a problem.
No,
Like,
it's
not that bad.
Not really, because the way that internet stuff works is like we may hear Chowder, like Chowder could hear us at different times than we hear each other, because it's all about when the packets get delivered. But
Yeah,
the
no,
audio will still be lined up on the other end.
No, I understand how the internet works, but I'm saying our lag right now while we're talking to each other does not have a 2 second delay, so there's an account for delay, but I don't know if there's a full 2 seconds delay or if that was just an exaggeration.
Well, I have some great news. I'm the
well,
one
it might have
editing
been
it, so
more
it
like
will only
1
hurt
second,
me.
but yeah.
Whatever.
It only hurts me. Title of my sex tape. Hello, and welcome to the Common Briefing program. This is part of the Common Geeking program where each month...